old and
very
retro.
familiar to me because I'm from Connecticut originally also. I've lived elsewhere. I'm back. But I definitely grew up in a neighborhood where my neighbors had names like Kaminsky,
Right.
and somebody was always making pierogies when you went over there. And I love Pauline's mother, who thinks that heck is a swear word and gets really upset if somebody says darn. You know? So I relate to those people, and I kind of grew up with those people, and it brings a lot into the story that I can enjoy. I think that people, particularly people from Connecticut and from New England, will recognize those characters. They will have met those people. And speaking of characters, I don't think it would be possible to talk about the Sokol series without asking you about Jagger.
Jagger. Jagger is the character that I wrote that I know the least about. And that's on purpose. Most writers, of course, have to do a detailed characterization of each person that they're going to write about, because you need to know just about everything about that character, so you'll know how they will react to conflict, which is what fiction is. But Jagger, I didn't do any, I don't know if he has another name other than Jagger. He only has the one name. I don't know if that's his first or last name. I don't really know where he's from. And I did that. I didn't want to discover any more about him than what the readers know.
Or what Pauline knows.
And Pauline
I guess
too,
that's true. That's a lot of the appeal of Jagger is he's a complete mystery to her. He has a tendency to just pop up places.
And that's what the big attraction is, too.
And I'm sure that your readers ask you, because I get these questions sometimes about the heroes in my stories, if they're based on a real person.
There is no real Jagger.
There is no real Jagger. You wish there was.
I wish
That's what I tell them about my heroes.
I would not do Match.com if there was a real Jagger around.
The other thing I wanted to ask you about was that we were talking about how you traveled and you went to Alaska. You went on a trip this year to Italy, to it's the International Women's Fiction Writers Conference. And what's the name of the town in Italy where that was?
Italy.
Matera, Italy.
I had not heard of it before, but it actually was rather popular for tourism.
And you were a speaker at that conference. You were brought there to speak.
Yes, that was pretty interesting because the audience was international. So they wore earphones and there was translators in the back. And as you see, I speak with my hands, even though I'm not Italian, and I speak very quickly like a typical Yankee. So they were like, please talk slower. And I think I did all right because I didn't see any frantic waving coming from the back of the room. So everybody seemed to understand. It was really fascinating because you met other people from around the world that are similar to we are. They're either wannabe writers, they're learning, or published authors. I met a lot of international editors and publishers, which is really good too, so that they're going to take a look at my books to see about the foreign rights. But they have to look, but something that you have to keep in mind, like the German editor has to read my work to see if my sense of humor will translate to the German people. They might not get Lori Avocato. You know?
I don't know. I think this character, the Pauline Sokol character, has pretty universal appeal.
Well, hopefully.
I think everybody, because you said that she's a burned-out nurse, and she's decided she just can't do that anymore, and she gets a job working as an insurance fraud investigator, but starting with the first book, the very first thing they expect her to do is go undercover as a nurse. So you feel her frustration is, I'm trying to get away from this, and the first thing they want me to do is be a nurse again. So
it has built-in conflict.
It's
easy.
It's great. I love that, and I've really enjoyed the series. I wanted to talk about your Christmas release because a lot of people will be viewing this show around the Christmas holidays, and Lori has a Christmas release. Let me hold this up, called Sugar Plum and Scandals. I think our other camera, actually, if we could get a zoom in on this. This is could you hold that up and get a zoom on this? The Sugar Plums and Scandals. And they include a Christmas story about these two characters, Pauline Sokol and Jagger, from the series. And it's really cute. I was reading it and I was really enjoying it. It's a cute story. But before we go, I'm going to get you to read an excerpt from this.
It's 3 romance writers and 3 mystery writers, so it has the appeal to both crossover
really?
readership.
Okay. Yeah, there's some very well-known names here. Kate London, Carolyn Sparks, who she sent me some books recently. And I like her a lot. I really enjoy talking to the different writers from the different genres, and I was hoping maybe to be able to speak to her at some time in the future.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, she sent me a book and said she might be in the area.
Oh, good.
So that would be great if we could talk about her in a future thing. Now, this is a question that I always like to ask people because I think people really wonder about the writing process. When you write do you plot the whole story out in advance?
No.
Or are you what they
Not
call
at
a
all.
pantser, which means you write by the seat of your pants?
I do. I don't know. In all 6 of my mysteries, including and that 7th for the anthology, I did not know who the murderer was until I wrote it. And it's like building a house without a set of plans, though, so it's very difficult in one way. However, I find it more motivating for me to sit down and write. I don't believe in anything like, you know, having writer's block. You just can't allow yourself to. I always say, like when I was a nurse, I couldn't go to my boss and go, you know, I just don't feel like nursing today, you know. So I can't allow myself to do that with my writing. But I do, you know, as I said, I made out that schedule to do every day, but I do not plot. I can't. I just can't. I have to be typing. I do certain things that they call grounding, though. For the 12 years, I've listened to the same music. It's flute music by James Galloway, very, very softly in the background, and I feel like my subconscious probably hears it. I have 2 computers. One is the one I write on, which is not plugged into the internet at all, so I can never get a virus on it.
Oh, that's good.
And then I have mine next to it, so my mind knows when I switch from computer to computer, like there's no email, there's no internet, I'm writing. So there's little things you can do,
That's
I think,
really good.
to
Yes,
ground yourself into the process. And as I said, I treat it like a job. It's a regular job. I just happen to do writing books as a job.
I really relate to what you say about there being no such thing as writer's block.
Right.
I think that that's kind of an invention for the movies where the writer is blocked. I've never had writer's block. What I have is I get too busy doing other things.
Right.
And one of the first things that they taught me, they told me the cure for writer's block was BIC-HOC, which stands for butt in chair,
right.
hands on keyboard.
Absolutely.
If you're
Nora
having writer's
Roberts,
block, sit down and write.
Nora
Yeah.
Roberts once said you can fix anything except a blank page. It's true.
That's absolutely
I think,
correct.
You know, we all tend to procrastinate, but as long as you know you're procrastinating at the time, I think you're all right. As long as you don't do it that often and you stick with, you obviously never want to be late for a deadline. So,
No,
you
I
there's
know.
flexibility like that in any job, and I think that's what people forget. They because it is an emotional thing. You're pouring out your your subconscious onto the pages, and it comes from within you. But and that's rejection part of writing is like a whole other topic of it. But I think that you just have to sit down and do it.
You have to approach it like a business.
Right, we do.
It is
I find
a job.
that when you sit down and just write, the best work comes out then.
You know, a best-selling author who I really love hearing speak is Cherry Adair. And Cherry Adair says, when you get up in the morning, don't sit down to write until you've put on your earrings.
I don't write with earrings.
So I think she means like if you're in your bunny slippers in your bathrobe, you're not serious.
That's true. No, I like get dressed.
You
I
get
have my
dressed and you
breakfast.
go to
I don't
work.
get dressed up. I mean, I wear my jeans. I go for my walk, and I think you have to stick to a routine. If that's the type of person you are, I am. I do my routine of going for my walk and then sitting down. I do my email, and I'm not going to say I don't procrastinate. I'll be sitting there and not feeling like writing, so I'll turn and do email, and then I'll go back and write a sentence and look at more email certain days.
I don't know how anyone ever researched a book before the internet.
No.
That is so wonderful that
I
you
know.
can just look anything up.
Right.
That's fantastic.
And cutting and pasting, I don't think I could ever write a book on a typewriter.
But people did it for years, or
They
by
did.
hand. I had a critique partner whose her first book will be coming out very shortly, and she wrote everything by hand.
See, I can't do that.
And
I have to hear
then
the
typed
click
it.
of the computer
click
keys,
of the
even though they're not
computer.
loud. It's just part of that whole process. Do you remember the old Dick Van Dyke show where he went to the mountains to write a book in a cabin, and he had a stack of like all bunched up papers because he did it on a typewriter, and every page that would be me. I would have like stacks and stacks of little balls of paper.
I can't imagine not being able to rewrite, as I go, just fix one word or something rather than rewrite an entire page.
Yeah.
Now, you're somebody who we call a pantster, who writes by the seat of their pants. I'm a plotter.
Are you?
I
Okay.
have charts. I have color coding. I have I have pie charts. I have pictures. And one of the things that I do is I cast my book. I say, if I was going to make this book into a movie, here's who would play my characters. So have you ever